Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Myself and Abby back again, reviewing the World Cup, just rounding up the matches which have come by. Abby, how you doing? All good?
Good, yeah, all good. I wish I was in India, man. It's raining in England now, super cold.
Yeah,
Um,
it
the
is
World
very
Cup
cool.
seems to be igniting.
Yeah, that's it's been the World Cup's pretty much alive now with what we've seen. The two upsets. We'll start with the first upset
Yeah,
between England and Afghanistan. Would you call that an upset or?
you know how we are on this channel. I think it is an upset in the sense of like the teams that were playing, Afghanistan and England. But in terms of the actual skills that were on display, it's pretty believable what happened. Um, like going over the game, England's batsmen, I think it really ended up being England's batsmen because the bowlers ended up doing well, pulling Afghanistan back from 100 for no loss all the way to kind of 280 all out. Um, Even though at the end, Mujib ended up putting a few runs on, I think the bowlers did well and that was a chaseable total. But it kind of just shows England's lack of skill on the batting front, where as soon as a few good spinners came on, Rashid and Mujib, and even Nabi, he's not troubled anybody else in the tournament. But against England, they were all just getting out to the spin. Uh, and yeah, that's kind of the English batsman mentality. And what we always say is like the English cannot play spin. And it's almost as if like it's like when you see a hard math problem, right? And you see all the numbers, and suddenly your brain just goes out the window. That's what England does with spin bowling. Where as soon as they see a ball come out the back of somebody's hand, they're suddenly like, "Oh my god, how do I use my feet? How do I do this?" And just the game plan just out the window. So I think it's just a classic display of like England really struggling to cope with the spin bowling.
Yeah, so that's the spin side. I'll talk about the fast bowlers, Afghanistan's fast bowlers, the in-swinging delivery, which has always troubled Josh Butler and
Yeah,
Johnny Bairstow, and one LBW fighter like Faruqi and Navin Ulak going through Josh Butler's defenses. I think again, if we talk about technique there, Josh Butler tends to say leg side of the ball to
yeah,
try and act the offside, and that's where
yeah.
see his head falling away.
Yeah,
So
and
just
I was just gonna say that his head falls over. I think that's the main thing, and that always has been the case. He's always reaching for the ball, even when he's driving. Um, but yeah,
yeah, and you've seen like Johnny Bairstow struggled with that full ball coming in again in
yeah,
swinger left armers. So I think they got all these teams, like you see Netherlands, they're getting their matchups right. They might not have the skill, but what you see
yeah,
there is their coaching staff. So Afghanistan's coaching staff, Jonathan Trott, obviously who's played a lot against the English boys. He knows the English.
exactly.
I think
Yeah,
the way we've worked that out, so you can see like although the skill might not be of the same level, but the way these teams are analyzing players, their matchups, I think
yeah,
that's been very good to see from
yeah.
the
I
teams.
think the thing with cricket that's always the case is that on any given day, for one ball, you only need 10 balls. You can have the skill for 10 balls. And if
Yeah,
things go right on that day, then you'll get 10 wickets. And that's kind of, I'm not saying Afghanistan only has the skill for 10 balls, but I mean, they bowled some very good deliveries and things went their way. They got the wickets of, Butler, Bairstow, Root, all of them kind of uncharacteristic wickets. And they got all of them out, and things just went their way. But I mean, that's the thing with with cricket. To be a good team, you need to be consistent. But it's good to see that the associate nations, Afghanistan is a test playing nation now, but the associate nations are really thinking about the game and trying to, use their skills to the best way they can.
yeah, and also the we saw the fight back with an Ikram coming in into the team wicketkeeper.
Yeah,
He had two big important partnerships between Rashid Khan and Mujib, which got that total from about 190 to 284, so 40 odd run partnerships each way. So I thought
exactly.
he done a good job there.
Yeah. and that's the kind of same thing that happened with the Netherlands game as well, where their captain, he also scored 79 runs, really got Netherlands and pushed them to a good total. I actually think the anatomy of both the upsets is very similar. Both the teams uh, that made the upset, Afghanistan and Netherlands, they batted first and they were struggling midway through the innings, but I think almost England and South Africa got complacent, started bowling badly, and these associate nations or younger nations are good, are very good cricketers. So even Netherlands captain, he was able to take advantage of kind of not as good and disciplined bowling by South Africa, and he pushed the total all the way up to 240, which was kind of run a ball if you think about it. And
Yeah,
that just gave them momentum going into their bowling innings as well. The same kind of thing happened with Afghanistan. And then once you rattle off two, three quick wickets, you're on a roll.
yeah. It's good to see like someone like a Raw van der Merwe was who South Africa, you can say that he could make the fringes and team of South Africa. He's like sort of a journeyman cricketer. He's been
Yeah.
everywhere. He's with Somerset. Now he's off to the Netherlands to just
Hmm.
go and just go. Netherlands with the infrastructure is not quite there. Their main sports being like hockey and football.
Hmm.
But what they've done with the limited resources, you can see some of the. I think one of the players is like an Uber, used to Uber Eats in the winter and before playing cricket. So
Yeah.
you can see the journeys which these associate nations have gone. Afghanistan have gone through the wars, the earthquakes, and
Exactly.
these cricketers with such mentalities is very good. And this is why it's not a 8-team World Cup; it's a 10-team World Cup.
Yeah.
We thought the Netherlands would not beat anyone, but you can see they've done it twice to South Africa. What do you
Yeah.
think?
And they've completely cracked open the World Cup, and now South Africa is not undefeated anymore.
Yeah,
Easily, if they kind of lose form and lose a couple of games against stronger teams, they still have to play New Zealand, they still have to play India and Pakistan. They could struggle, and it just cracks open the World Cup and gives teams like Australia, who kind of just about beat Sri Lanka, an opportunity to get back almost. I think just wrapping up on both the upsets, I'm I originally grew up in Canada as well, and over there as well, the cricket culture and the quality of the cricketers is there. We always used to say that the skills that we have is equal to what people in actual cricketing countries have. The difference is that we don't have the consistency and we don't have the facilities to play enough
resource.
cricket. You know,
Yeah, the
if
resource.
we if we could play cricket the same way that people do in England or India or Australia, all of these associate nations would be just as good skill wise as the test playing nations. But we just don't have enough opportunities to focus all our energies on cricket. People always have to do other jobs. Um, but yeah, moving on, I think uh, with South Africa losing, that again opens up the World Cup, and with Australia winning against Sri Lanka, that definitely keeps them in it. I was watching that Australia Sri Lanka game, and Sri Lanka as well, they got to kind of 100 for no loss. And Australia looked kind of down and out. I thought that was them for the World Cup. But Australians always managed to come back. They restricted Sri Lanka to 200 all out. And they were able to chase it down, though, with a few scares. David Warner getting out early, and Steve Smith getting out early. But they were still able to chase down that total. So good signs for them in that sense. Some of their batsmen even getting 50 is good runs.
Yeah, Sri Lanka, like they've had their starts, like we said, their top order fires, but then after that, the Zampa just ate into them, so
Yeah,
they couldn't they couldn't play the spin there because the top order what they
exactly.
put about 130 odd, and then
Yeah,
if you do the math and you get like what 70 odd for the next 9 to 10 wickets, which is I think they really need to step up Sri Lanka. I feel they're gone already, but
yeah,
just to put some pride into themselves, just work and just step up a bit and just put on a show at least.
yeah, exactly. I think Sri Lanka, it'll be difficult to come back, especially the manner of their losses. Like you said, the top order. is scoring runs, and the rest of the team is kind of letting them down in that sense. And their bowlers are, for all the talk about Mahesh Tikshana doing well, he's not taking that many wickets, and he doesn't seem too difficult to play. Uh, Marsh was kind of smashing him around pretty easily when they were playing, and I just don't think Sri Lanka's bowlers has as much bite as they need to. But yeah, Sri Lanka, I think their main issue, the top order, is getting them to good starts, but they lose application, and the rest of the order does nothing. So
Yeah,
it's a difficult problem for you to solve midway through a World Cup. And
yeah,
I was seeing some of the dismissals against Adam Zampa, for example, some straight balls, googlies. These are things that you would think Sri Lankan cricketers would be able to spot, picking googlies, but they were missing them by more than a bat's width. They were just nowhere near playing them. So it's just that's kind of a skill gap in the Sri Lankan cricket where it's w- there's just lack of application and lack of ability to continue scoring like the top order is.
yeah. As an international cricketer, like you have lots of footage with you. You should
Yeah,
be a clean the data analysts, the statistician, they should be showing them a bit like I would expect international batters to read bowlers much easily because
yeah,
considering the amount of cricket they play, the amount of footage which is available right now. So no mystery spinner goes like they might get that one or two games and then after that they get found out. So I think in that sense the Sri Lankan batters have to do a bit more application when they play as well.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then just wrapping up that game, even though Australia did win that game, I still think that against better teams, Zampa is not as effective. And though he did pick up 4 wickets, they weren't kind of very good wickets. They were kind of silly errors by the Sri Lankan batsmen, not reading googlies, not reading straighter balls. And against a better team, they were able to pick him easily against South Africa. And then I think their bowlers again need a bit of bite, but yeah, it goes back to saying like Steve Smith, I just don't think is fit for one day cricket. He's not been scoring runs, and I'm not surprised if he doesn't come out of this World Cup with a big score at all.
Yeah, yeah. No, they had to rely on that middle order to get them past again. So they just need to they need someone to score big. We haven't seen a big score, a big hundred from anyone. Even in the India series, you didn't really see that big match winning hundred. So they do need they do need someone who can stick around. So and also the strike rates of Lavishan and Smith really need to improve considering the totals at the World Cup and the way
Yeah,
the other teams are playing. You can see
yeah,
there's more intent being shown.
yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah,
Australia just got its squad wrong for this World Cup. I don't think you can play Steve Smith and Labuschagne in the same team. They're both the same player, and they're good Test match players. But I just don't think Australia has brought a one-day squad to this World Cup. They don't have enough spinners. They don't have attacking batsmen. They have too many all-rounders, like you're talking about. And yeah, they'll scrape through. I think they have a chance to get to that top four, but I don't see them winning the World Cup
yeah. I
with their
think
squad.
South Africa's opened the door for another two spots now.
Yeah,
So we'll see that their neighbors, New Zealand, Australia's neighbors, New Zealand, they're pretty much flying high with a win today as well.
yeah,
Pretty much was standard. Like they scored the 290,
yeah.
but again, Afghanistan were never in the game, and
No,
they barely got half the runs. Yeah,
yeah. Dominant game. Not much to talk about there. Winning by 100 runs. New Zealand has just showed its quality. All their batsmen are getting runs. All their bowlers are taking wickets. Matt Henry is the top wicket taker now. Who would have expected that, right? So I think New Zealand is going to be one of the top teams for sure. Um, and just off current form, India New Zealand final looks more than likely.
yeah. And I thought the middle order did a who haven't been really tested. came to the party as well. Glenn
Yeah,
Phillips scoring runs and Tom Latham. Tom
yeah,
Latham with captaincy from taking over Kane Williamson. He's just
yeah,
marshaled his bowlers well. The spinners, I think the spinners are the key. Like Mitch Santner, he's been really good so far in
yeah,
this World Cup. Probably one of the top left arm
yeah,
bowlers after Kuldeep, the spinners you
yeah.
could say. I
And
think
it's
it's going to be a good challenge. I think their next game will be India, but before India do play Bangladesh tomorrow.
yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I think Bangladesh, India will feel quite confident against Bangladesh. You know, Bangladesh does have a good record against India, but in this World Cup, India is actually playing spin very well, which is something that Bangladesh relies heavily on. And also, Shakib is apparently not
Yeah,
feeling well for the game. He might not be there. And I think if Shakib is not there, it'll be difficult for Bangladesh to really make a dent in India's batting lineup. And India's bowlers are on form, you know, and Bangladesh has always struggled against people like Pandya, Bumrah. So I think it should be a pretty clinical win for India.
yeah. I think what India have struggled is the left arm slow bowler. So if Shakib doesn't play, then there's just gaps in that bowling. And not only the bowling, he occupies the top order as well. So he
Yeah,
produces the runs as well. So it's going to be a fast of a stretch for Bangladesh, a young Bangladesh team who are in transition to get anything out of this game. I would imagine
exactly.
India will probably go unchanged. I would imagine just between Shardul and Ashwin will be a toss up, but
Hmm.
I do still see they'll play Shardul. I think if the
Hmm.
wickets, it all depends on the wicket, but I don't think there will be any changes. So yeah, pretty
Yeah,
standard, I would say, victory. And yeah, that wraps it up. We will be back as soon as we can in the next one. Thank you, Abby, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for viewing. Please like,
yeah,
share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.
perfect. Yeah, we'll be back for the big India New Zealand game. Um, but until then, see you guys.